Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show on this Monday, November 26th, I think it is. Anyway, my eyes aren't that good. 28th? Anyway, welcome to this Monday show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, here's the thing, right? We're going to get started and open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. Zero COVID, zero tolerance. Chinese lockdowns. Protest intensifies. Rare display of defiance. Evidently, they're saying Xi or she or whatever, XI, step down, stuff like that. They're quoting slogans like that and stuff. And the protests are spreading to a number of cities across China. Wuhan, which is like I think 11 million people in Wuhan. Shanghai, you've all heard of Shanghai, that's a really big city. Ninjiang, different cities like that. It's protests. It's actually starting to spread across China. And what they're doing is they're holding up these little white pieces of paper with nothing on them. We saw that same thing happen in Russia a few months back, the protesters against the war over there, which they don't call a war, they call it a special military operation. The protesters there were holding up little white pieces of paper, and they're being arrested off the streets for holding up a blank piece of paper. Now in China, they're being arrested for holding up blank pieces of paper, possibly being arrested soon, I imagine soon, for holding up. I don't think they're quite being arrested yet for it anyway, because it doesn't say anything. They're trying to avoid the censorship or whatever. So the people are saying something. A couple things that are interesting about all this. One is it's called the People's Republic of China. I believe that's what's called. Anyway, it's commonly known as the Communist CCP, or the Chinese Communist Party. But it's the thing is the people now are talking en masse. And what are they saying? I mean, how do you know? Because it's just a blank piece of paper. You know, I guess you'd have to listen very closely to hear what they're saying. Anyway, so it's the same thing. This could spread around the world. Maybe they'll make blank paper illegal. What do the factories do that produce paper? They'll have to print something on it. I mean, I'm being kind of ridiculous here, but there's another thing involved that I wanted to talk about, and it's COVID. The fact that the Chinese Communist Party right now have these lockdowns going and what's called zero COVID. There's a reason, probably a reason that we don't know behind this whole thing about this zero tolerance of COVID-19. And the people in China might not know what it is. The people in the West might not know what it is. But I mean, I'm just going to take a wild guess here about this. Could it be that the reason why the Chinese government is so desperate to stop COVID from spreading through China, that they're willing to risk a lot? You see right here what they're risking. They're risking getting the people upset. Could it be that there's something that we all don't know about COVID, why they do not want COVID in China, the Chinese Communist Party? Now, you know it originated in China. Now, I'm just speculating here. This is all pure speculation on my part. But could it be that in the Western world now, where we don't really try to stop COVID anymore, we don't have all these lockdowns and stuff over here, could it be that COVID's still here? Could it be that COVID has went stealth mode? Or what in the medical profession, what they call asymptomatic. Meaning that you don't know you got it. But just because you don't know you got a disease doesn't mean you're completely out of the woods. if you get my drift. There's a diseases out there that people have that they can catch. You know, I remember, I think one disease from a long time ago was a disease called syphilis. And it would go asymptomatic, eat away at your body, and you wouldn't really know. Some people didn't know they had it, you know, and a long time later they find out they got it, you know. These diseases, certain diseases like that, you got to watch out for. I think it was called something called a spirochete would cause it's the same disease, and there's another disease. It's very similar. It has a spirochete that's called Lyme's disease. It comes from ticks. You don't know you have it. They're hidden diseases. They go asymptomatic, but there are symptoms, but the people don't notice the symptoms, perhaps. Perhaps with something like Lyme's disease or syphilis or Lyme's disease, they don't notice it until it's in late stages. So you got to watch out for asymptomatic disease. This is a new thing. Never forget. Before 2020, there was no such thing as COVID. Now it's everywhere. Everybody's been exposed. How come you say, well, how come nobody's sick? Oh, we're fine over here in the West. The Chinese people over there right now, they look at the people in the West, they say, oh, they're fine. We can do it too. We can be fine too. Maybe none of us are fine. You ever think about that? And so what cure is there for it? If that was to be the case, what cure is there for it? Well, I don't. I'm searching, looking for, where's the cure? Where's the cure? I don't see any. Let's just hope that my suspicions or my speculation is completely wrong. This world is so full of crap. I'm telling you. Stock markets. Oil slides as COVID protests erupt across China. Now, here's another thing about these COVID protests that I want to mention. We don't know just how big it's going to become just yet. Or will it be crushed by the CCP, or the Chinese Communist Party? Will they crush it? Or will it grow into something bigger? But it is affecting the markets to a certain degree, as of right now. Stock markets, oil slides as COVID protests erupt across China. And so I guess it's making the markets a little bit nervous right now. Stocks and oil slide as these protests go across, because they don't know, just like I don't know, how far is this going to go. And China is the second biggest economy in the world. I mean, they are a huge economy. Mostly because they build all this junk and ship it across the ocean in junks. I know, I'm just joking. That's what they used to call boats. They're boats. They used to call them a junk, Chinese junk, by the way. But that was just the name that they called the boats. Anyway, aside from that, they ship them across in these big shipping containers. So the junk comes across in shipping containers. And we all buy it over here in the West, but you know, I'm making it seem like the Chinese are not giving us a good deal because they're shipping us junk. Okay? But it actually is a good deal because we're just creating the money from debt from nothing to pay for it. And we've been doing this for years. What enabled this was Nixon and Kissinger. This would have never happened. The United States had the strongest economy in the world, and our currency was backed by gold, and it was unbelievably strong, powerful. So what they did was they pulled this deal, or should I say swindle? In 1971, they swindled us. They swindled the entire free world into slowly destroying everything that had been built. They destroyed us, underhandedly destroyed us. And now we're suffering the consequences of that destruction. And what it was called the Nixon shock. when Nixon took us off the gold standard. It shocked the world. It's like, what the heck? What the heck are you doing? Are you crazy? He said, well, it's only temporary. I'm just going to do it temporarily. To stop the speculators. Because they're taking all of our gold reserves. Can't have that. No, we got to have an unsupported currency, and now we're paying the price for that. We've got to the point where we can't increase the debt any longer. So now they've all their powers, and they've decided to shrink the debt. Big mistake, because the system's not set up for that. Anyway, you guys understand it. You guys understand it better because you've been watching my channel for a while and you understand what's coming. Because they can't go in that direction too far. They can go a little ways with shrinking the debt. But ultimately, you guys understand, if you've been watching my channel, I've explained it many times why they can't go too deep with this. They can't go too far. So they're on a path where they can't go too far because they'll walk off the cliff edge. They know that, so they'll have to back off. And when they back off, we're really going to see a destruction of the dollar. But we're safe from that destruction as long as they stay the course. But they can't continue with the course too much longer. They're going to have to turn around. And when they try to turn that ship around, they're going to run aground. It's almost like picture a boat, a giant ship full of oil. An oil tanker trying to go up the Mississippi River. And it's getting shallower and shallower as they go up the Mississippi River. And at a certain point, they're going to say, oh, we got to turn this tanker around. And they're going to run aground. And the tanker's going to tip over on its side. And they're going to have a disaster of oil spilling all down the Mississippi River. This is what's coming, guys. And that was just an analogy to try to point out what's coming. It's very, very soon this is coming. When they talk about pivot, hear them talking about a Fed pivot? They're talking about them trying to turn the tanker around. Disastrous. Because one of the things that is very important to them is not allowing food inflation here in the United States, because this is the precursor to civil unrest. And we've seen some pretty hard food inflation as the past number of months, like 20% annually. And the people out there, they can't afford to feed themselves if they get too much food inflation. And so that's what they're really trying to curtail, because they know that that'll lead to civil unrest, and basically they'll experience what China's experiencing right now. They don't want that. You know, and how you see, it's very tricky when you get civil unrest in a country like it's occurring in China right now. It's extremely tricky. And why it's tricky is, if it progresses too deeply, it's almost like a cancer. To the people in charge, it's almost like a cancer. Because if you let a cancer progress through the body, it goes into something called metastasis or mastosis or something like that, where it spreads everywhere through the body, and then they say, oh, you've had it. You know. And this is the same way with this, what's going on. If it spreads too far through the system, then it becomes systemic, the unrest. And basically, at that point, the military and the police that they use to control protests can flip. And once that happens, it's like what happened during the French Revolution. And so you see, that's like a cancer patient becoming gone too far, and he dies from the cancer. And that's what happens, and they know that. And it just really frightens them, because they know that they got to get this under control, that this is like a disease. If it spreads too far through the system, and they lose control too much, that a revolution can start that they can't get under control, and then they lose it. They lose power, and they lose possibly even their lives. And they know that, because there's examples through history of that over and over again happening. So that everything to maintain control. So they'll suppress the people and try to quash this out or crush it before it goes too far, because they see it like a cancer in their country. and it can come to the United States, and food inflation is what will cause this to happen. Of course, we also see that COVID restrictions can cause this as well. It's not just food inflation. Well, moving on, take a look at silver price today, and we're seeing a really big drop in silver at $20.90. It's down 54 cents on the day. Now, I'm going to tell you, they're just making it better and better to buy this stuff. And why I'm telling you guys about this stuff is very important. Energy prices keep going higher and higher year after year because the world is basically past peak oil. They're into shale. They went into West Texas, places like that. And the oil was bubbling out of the ground. Remember Jed Clampett movie, with Beverly Hillbillies, and Jed become a millionaire because the oil come bubbling up out of the ground. He drove into Beverly Hills and bought a mansion from oil sales. Companies like Standard Oil went through and they pumped oil out of the ground left and right because there's lots of oil down there. They pumped all those wells dry and capped them. Then years later, they come up with a new technology. It's called fracking, where they could go in there and using high pressure and heat and stuff, they could gather up what oil was left in those old abandoned wells and stuff. But it's very limited and it's quick. It's something the oil doesn't last. Like originally when they come in and drilled the oil, it lasted for years and years, like 40 years of pumping oil out of there, no problem. But fracking only lasts a couple of years, and it goes dry quickly again. It's something like leftovers. You have turkey dinner. You just had turkey dinner, right? The main dinner was the main thing. You ate all that turkey, okay? That was like when they first come in and had the oil, come in to big amounts of oil. Then what happened? You come in for the leftovers, there's not as much there. It cleans up a lot quicker, and it's gone. That's the way with the oil. And now they're cleaning up all the leftovers. This is soon going to all be gone. And so energy prices are going to go up. So see this stuff here, this silver? When you hold a silver coin in your hand, you are actually holding energy in your hand because that's what it takes to get it. You don't get the silver for free. It costs energy. So you're basically really buying into the oil out there, what's left out there, and it's disappearing. It costs about maybe 200 pounds of rock. Has to be dug out of the ground, pulverized into powder. How much energy it takes to powder? Well, just take 200 pounds of rocks and lay them on the floor and take a sledgehammer and try to beat it into powder. And you'll find out. You'll be sitting there for a week beating that sledgehammer up and down to try to finally get that same amount of energy has to go into that. And then they have to take that 200 pounds of powder and they have to sift all of and work the silver out of it using processes that they use, like what they put it in big vats, add chemicals for extraction, stuff like that, and heat. It's all about energy. So that final coin you hold, it requires energy to get it. They can have to consume that to make things. Things like your cell phone have silver in them. Your TV has silver in it. They keep consuming. All the solar panels out there have silver in them and stuff. So they're consuming that. So they have to keep making new stuff. And see, you can see what I'm talking about here. When you invest in silver, the energy required to make that piece of silver is very high compared to the silver price. So you're getting extremely good value for your money. And so the direction in the future it's most likely going to move is up. Where a lot of things you can buy, like cryptocurrency, where's the bottom? I mean, it does have a bottom, but it could go down. Basically, and the same with your stocks, and your bonds and everything you buy out there. But precious metals, if you get the real precious metals, you got something that has a solid floor under it, more so than most other things. You say, well, my money in the bank has a floor under it. Yeah, but it's not your money in the bank. It's the bank's money in the bank. Your money, what you call my money in the bank, actually belongs to the bank. It doesn't belong to you. So that doesn't belong to you. Just get that into your head right now. If they want to close the doors on the bank and say, whistle for your money, they can. The law has already been written that they can do that. So it's not your money. You are an unsecured lender to the bank. When you used to be in the old days, you were a depositor. Now you're an unsecured lender to the bank, and they can do what they want with your money. As soon as they get a hold of your money, it's just you ever watch that thing on South Park? And it's gone. You know, I should put a link to in the description to that. So watch that. Watch it, and then you'll know how much it's your money. Anyway, I'm getting bogged down here. Cryptocurrency today. It's at 16,107 for Bitcoin. That's 16,107 for Bitcoin, and 1,160 for Ethereum. Now we're going to take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average now. I'm going to refresh the page. 241. So 34,105 on the Dow, and it's down 241 points on the day so far. So I was telling you guys, really, right here, I was telling you guys that this was one massive bull market rally. I mean, bear market rally. And I'm going to tell you, if it went up much higher, it would have tested the peaks in the market. My lands. And I was saying that what I would do, just me, is I would sell the rally. Well, I was telling you that in here someplace. You know, I think here and here I said that. Now I think it's starting to come down to maybe people are coming to their senses a little bit here. That things are not so good. The Fed is still tightening. Now, okay, when the Fed's done tightening and we go through that process I was telling you about, of a pivot, then this market is going to, the sky's the limit. But until then, beware. Beware. Crude oil today, 75.70. The move index today, 129.60. And it's just barely staying above that average, that line up. It's actually broke down a little bit in here. It broke down. We had it descending upwards quite nicely over the course of the year, and then all of a sudden we've seen this dip, and now it's not. It's down below. It's down below that average. So we're not seeing that anymore. Anyway, bonds here, we're looking at falling yields today. We're looking at a U.S. 10-year at 3.68, and it's fell 1.7 basis points, and a 30-year at 3.73, and it's fell 1.3 basis points. And we're looking at the dollar index at 106.20, and it's got a few dipsy doodles in it. It was going down this morning, now it's going back up this afternoon. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Let's keep our eye on China real closely over the next number of days or weeks to see if this movement is suppressed or if it goes someplace bigger. China, you know, one way or another, the Chinese economy is in big trouble. Now, I'm not talking about the COVID thing. I'm talking about the economy is in big trouble. So we're going to have to watch that too, because they've had this big real estate collapse, and there's more coming to the Chinese economy. We'll catch you guys in the next show, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.